He turned pro in 1976 at the age of 19. And by the early 1980s, Nick was so good that he was one of the leading players on the European Tour. But that wasn't good enough for him. He wanted to win majors. And so he changed his swing. Did it work? 1987 won the Open Championship by 1 stroke over Paul Azinger and Roger Davis. 1989 won the Masters in a playoff over Scott Hoke. 1990 won his second consecutive Masters in a playoff over Raymond Floyd. 1990 won his second Open Championship by 5 strokes over Mark McNulty and Payne Stewart. 1992 won his third Open Championship over John Cook, and in 1996 won his third Masters by 5 strokes in a final round that we all remember over Greg Norman in 1996. No one won more majors between 1987 and 1996 than Nick. He won 3 Masters and 3 Open Championships in that span. 6 majors in all, 3 other PGA Tour titles, and a total of 40 professional wins. He is a member of the Order of the British Empire. Yeah! Which means he is, and please welcome Sir Nick Faldo.
Hang on.
Here we go.
Hang on, royalty hasn't sat down yet.
There we go. Oh, good. Oh, that's not right. See, that's not right. Nick, I apologize. This is not your normal thread count on the chair.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
We're doing the best we can. This is lovely.
It's little thin on the gold lace, isn't
I'm
it?
sorry.
Yeah.
We'll work on that for next year. But we're thrilled that you're here. And actually, Nick said, please ask me, right off the bat, not what I had planned. He said, please ask me about Fanny Sunnison, my caddy. And there we go. All right. Let's start with that. It just can go downhill from there.
You're giving away all my secrets.
Okay.
You're meant to feed that in.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, exactly.
We want to hear them.
Oh, no way. We'll start the evening with... hopefully some of you remember that I was one of the first to have a professional lady caddy in Fanny Sunnison, Swedish. Yeah, and... It was quite, everybody made a big song and dance out of it, but to us it was absolutely fine. We went off, she was a great, very professional. And it reminded me of the very first week we started work was in literally the first weeks of January 1990. And we flew over to Orlando, to Lake Nona, to start practicing for the start of the season. And I was staying at the club then, and Fanny was staying at a hotel down the road, and I unpacked all my stuff, and I realized I'd left my toothbrush, forgot a toothbrush. So I said to Fanny, could you buy me a toothbrush, you see? So she said, sure. She goes back, and then she calls it, what type of toothbrush do you want? She said, do you want one with hard bristles or soft bristles? Now, some of you get it. It's in England. These are bristles, you see. So I said, Fanny, I said, you can't say that. I said, exactly that. I said, in Britain, these are bristles. She said, you don't want the soft ones then. So I thought, we're going to do all right. We'll get on fine.
How did the two of you meet that you would hire her as your caddy?
At a toothbrush salesman store.
There it is.
Yeah.
And with
Something
that,
like that. Yeah.
we move on.
Yeah.
All right, many of these kids from the first tee have sports idols that they try to emulate. Can you let us know who was your sports idol growing up and why?
Mine was Bjorn Borg. Was my first guy I watched. And they've just done a fabulous HBO documentary. If you watched that, Bjork,
Fire and Ice.
How cool was that? I got the last 45 minutes of it just the other day. I loved the way that he dealt with everything, how he was such a cool customer, and never met him through our era, only met him as you do at Buckingham Palace.
Quite.
Yeah, in about 96 or 7, he was playing a charity event at Buckingham Palace with McIlroy, on the back lawn, as one does with, Majesty. And so I met him finally there, and then so it's quite fascinating. And that man was, then I've later learned how physically and mentally strong he was. He literally would hit balls all day. And then he'd pick up his friends and put them on his shoulder and run around the court, 100 times to train himself. And, he had some amazing mental strength.
Bjorn Borg. Bjorn.
Yeah.
It strikes me that when I was about to come up here, and sometimes I do it before I go on the air, I get ready to get focused and get passionate and get. But in golf, you don't. In golf, that doesn't work, does it?
No,
you
it
have to
doesn't.
be calm.
We have to do the opposite. We listen to psychology tapes and things like that, and meditate and get ourselves in the zone and get zenned out and all those sort of things. That kind of works.
What did you do to prepare? Are you up? Are you there?
I stayed awake for you.
What did you do to prepare when you played? Did you really listen to tapes?
No, it's funny. In my best time, in my best era, yes, I was listening to meditation tapes, that sort of things, visualizing the day, all that. And I do that twice. Once you do that twice a day, you do it in the morning and the evening. So it was. I was really exciting to be with. Yeah,
I'm sure. You've changed. What other sports did you play?
I played everything, and I described myself. I was a sportsman looking for a sport. I did everything through school, and as you said, I then saw the Masters on television, and probably what struck me more was the color. I mean, I only got a television when I was 8, and I think then we got a color television when I was 12. And so this was 13 and a quarter. I watched the Masters on TV and thought, wow, this is... And I literally went to my mum and dad next morning. I said, I want to try golf. I knew nothing about it. And my mother says, well, you need a haircut first. So she got one of those Fortnum & Mason's, pudding bowls and stuck it on my head and cut around it and sent me off to the golf club. And I booked my 6 lessons with the assistant pro. And he said, okay. And I said, right, I'm ready. He said, no, you start tomorrow. First lesson's tomorrow. I said, I was ready. I wanted to start. So that's, and then the funny, interesting thing was my next door neighbor gave me 2 clubs. I didn't have any clubs gave me a 7 and 8 iron, and I went off and beat balls and had my 6 lessons. And then my parents bought me a half set of clubs for my 14th birthday in July, and they were called St. Andrews. Very interesting. And that was it. I played my very first round of golf on my 14th birthday, and an unfortunate thing through that was I'd practiced for 3 months, so I'd got over, topping it, shanking it, missing it. So actually I could play. I think I shot 63 or 4. No, sorry, about
Get out
80.
Of here.
80.
Well, I was just going to ask.
I know I shot in the low 80s, something like. But I didn't know about it. I know I'll never forget. I 3-putted the 3rd green, and I said, that's stupid. I'll never do that again. And then, and I lost 3 balls, I think, but I didn't know the rules. I didn't know the penalties for that. So, but I know I hit it about 80 times. So it wasn't bad for first go.
And how long did it take before the 80s turned into low 70s and 60s?
I think pretty rapidly. A handicap getting cut at 24. I think my first handicap cards I put in, of course, were for about a 12. And the club said, oh, no, we've got to put you starting at 24. It's good for you. And fine, 24, 18, and I got down. So pretty rapidly. The next part of my life was really, I was bitten. That was 14. By 15, I'd made the decision. I wanted to be a pro golfer. And I decided, I wanted to leave school at 16. So that was a way you had to do it in Britain. You didn't have scholarships or sports opportunities like you have in America. If you wanted to pursue a sporting career, you had to leave school and head to the island. I literally headed to the practice ground and beat balls for a couple of years.
Had you not been a professional golfer, what endeavor would you have chosen for your life?
No, I was very interested. Outdoor life. My two rules were I wanted to be outdoors and I wanted to be my own boss. Quite funny because I now work indoors and I've got bosses in my ear all the time, which is fair. So I've ruined that. Got it right for 30 years. No, actually, I love landscape gardening, which is quite interesting. I was going down. I even looked at Forestry Commission in Canada or things like that. So kind of leans now. 30 years later, I have my own design business, so that's why I enjoy, getting involved in that.
When did you realize that you could become an elite on the PGA Tour and not just part of the field?
Well, I always believe that golf happens in steps, rungs of the ladder, as I call it. and you get different experiences, and you certainly climb up. My very first goal when I got on tour was prior to any of this world rankings or top whatever. In Britain, it was the top 60 were exempt for the next year. So my first goal, I wanted to be in the top 60. So I finished 58th. And then the next year was 77. My goal that year, genuinely, was I wanted to make the Ryder Cup team. And I did. I finished 8th in our order of merit, winning the grand total of about £8,500, about $12,500 or something, you know. And I'll send the cap round afterwards for a whip round, you know. So, and that was really my biggest moment in my life, was, you know, making that Ryder Cup team. I played that at Lytham St Anne's, and in that era we were in transition of trying to avoid being hammered by, you know, the American team. So they only played 3 matches. They only played 1 foursomes, 1 4-ball, 1 singles, just 1 match a day, because we didn't want to get hammered. Because what happened the time before was the match was already over before the Sunday, you know. So a little embarrassing for the guys. But anyway, I had an unbelievable week. Partnered with Peter Oosterhouse, which is kind of cool that, you know, we can still tell those stories together. Day 1 we played Ray Floyd and Lou Graham. We were 3 down after the front 9, and we won that 2-1. Next day, I got Jack Nicklaus and Ray Floyd, and I'm a 20-year-old kid, and Jack's my idol and everything. That was probably the very first time I've ever spoken to him. I'd watched him play at a few Opens, and so you can imagine I was petrified. And the hilarious thing was I was long in those days. I mean, I had one of those original, you know, Al Dilla when they first started graphite, and this was like a licorice stick, and it had about 7 degrees torque on it. You could literally twist the head around, and I could, with my temper, I could hit this thing. I hit it 20, 30 yards past Jack, and I never forget standing in the fairway thinking, "Don't look back, don't look back." He's looking, don't look back. And so, anyway, I beat Jack and Ray with Peter. We beat them 2-1, and then the next day I play Watson, who's the Open champion, and I beat him on 1 up. And I never forget, because I was then carted off to do radio and TV. It was the very first time I'd ever done like radio and TV, and I guess that was the start of you know, fame.
Yeah. You mentioned your equipment, so I don't want to take someone's question here, but someone asked you, would you have been better with the equipment of today than the equipment you played with? You had an interesting answer.
Yeah, I thought about that, and I would prefer to stay with what we had, you know, the Persimmon, and because I think it's just, in our day there was a couple. Greg Norman was the best driver with Persimmon, you know, and Jack was obviously pretty impressive, and then you go to Weiskopf, was awesome with the long irons, and I was right with mid irons, and Billy Casper, people like that. So it was only 1 or 2 in each department. Now, because of technology, I mean, so many players can hit a drive at 300 yards. In our day, they couldn't, and the accuracy is, and if you mishit it, so what? It goes 6 yards shorter than if you mishit a Persimmon, as we all can probably remember, how it used to hurt your fingers, didn't it? And the ball would be at 210 in the rough down the right or somewhere, and so I would have preferred to stay with equipment that was difficult, because, you know, I'd hit millions of golf balls, so I felt I was a better ball striker than.
I take it Jack was your idol?
Jack was my idol, and he was very inspirational through my career. I mean, the next big moment, I played with Jack in about 1983 or something in San Diego, and he shot 63. I shot 71 that felt like 81, and I came away and I thought, how did he do that? It was so easy. You know, I didn't get it, and about 2, and then it clicked how he played, and he talked later how he could shape the ball and make, you know, if the pin was on the left, he hit it in the middle of the green and just tipped it. We call it tipping it rather than shaping it. You know, just turn it. So if it came off, obviously it was close. If it didn't come off, it was in the middle of the green. If he did anything drastic, maybe it's on the other side of the green. Get me? So his margin of error, he never really missed greens left or right. And I worked that out. That's when I started to work on my swing and wanted to learn to shape the ball. And it didn't work. And it's quite funny, because I was at Muirfield Village in 1985, and I just missed a cut. I couldn't play it. I was lost. And that's when I met David Ledbetter, and I'd actually met David before, but he was there that week. I said, right, I'm ready. throw the book at me, and he did. And 2 years later, I closed the book. You know, I literally rebuilt my swing over. I used to hit I used to hit 5 buckets of ball a day, 5 buckets of balls a day, but they were the big buckets. You know, the ones that got 300 balls in.
Oh my!
I tell you, yeah.
Your hands.
My hands used to bleed. I used to get to the end of the day. I couldn't close my hands, you know. And then I'd go off and go for a swim at 3 o'clock or something, and then I'm sure like an idiot, I'll be back at 6 o'clock and hit a few more.
Can you tell us a time when you faced adversity in your career and overcame it? Was it that, or was there something else?
No, I think the one that first comes to mind was the '92 Open to Muirfield. You know, I went in as world #1 favourite, and off I go, steam. I play great. I shoot. It was quite poor Rory. Rory McIlroy, because he knew he was 13 under and he was just about to shoot 129, wasn't he, at the US Open? Guess who shot 130? Who was? I mean, I love the kid because he's been part of my. You know, I've known him since 12, been part of my series. So obviously, I love the kid, but I cheered when he double bogeyed the last because one of my records still stands. You know, so I didn't cheer when Tiger holed that putt for 19 under to beat my 18 under. So yeah, so it evens itself out. Where were we? Muirfield. Yeah, I started the last day 4-shot lead. Somehow I frittered it away. It was quite funny because I was, Fanny Susan was on the bag and I was making mistakes. And always the first thing I used to say to her was that I'm all right, because obviously I felt fine, but I was making mistakes. And next time I then looked at the leaderboard, it was 15, actually 14, walked off 14, and I was 2 back. So suddenly, and I gave myself a good talking to on the way to the 15th tee, and I said to myself, well, you better play the best 4 holes of your life. And now when I look back, into the 5-iron I hit into 15, I hit it like that. 16 I got up and down off the back. 17 was, I hit a drive and a 4-iron, which is actually as good as I could do with the whole location, absolutely. And then the 18, and then you've got that incredible walk, which is about 80 yards. You walk from 17 green to 18 tee going, 4 to win, 4 to win, 4 to... And that was brutal. And then I had driving the 3-iron down the last, the 3-iron was probably the best 3-iron I've ever hit in my life. So that, for me, I guess I scared myself and put myself into shock after it, yeah.
Yeah. Has enough time gone by to tell us what you whispered in Greg Norman's ear when you pulled off one of the greatest comebacks in Masters history? Yeah,
no, it's in my autobiography, which, I genuinely felt for the guy. I mean, he's got a 6-shot lead. Greg was a major part of that era, and could have, should have, why, never won a Masters. And to have a 6-shot lead as we've shown, the pressure at Augusta is amazing. It's almost one of the events you don't want to be leading at 54 holes. I really felt for the guy. So as we came off, I said, I don't know what to say. And I said, I want to give you a hug. So I gave him a hug, and then knowing what he was facing with the media, I said, just don't let the bastards get you down. You know? So, and he handled it incredibly well. I mean, I don't think I would have been as gracious if that happened to me. But I genuinely felt for the guy, because if it happened to... I'm fortunate. I've won majors, lost majors. I'm not scarred by any of my losses, and I assume that would certainly scar me, that one.
Your mentality going into that final round, though, you're trailing, and I'm sure someone of your stature, you never think, well, he's going to win, but you couldn't have imagined the way it would unfold. What were you saying to yourself as you took the first tee box?
No, it happened the night before. I'm doing the press interviews, and they're going, well, you're 6-back, Nick, can you win? Of course I can win. She got to, put the brave face on. And I went home, and I thought about it. I said, number one goal is if I can get within 3 after 9 holes, then it's game on. We've all seen 3 shots at Augusta is nothing. That can go in 1 hole. And that was absolutely the game plan. And it absolutely went to plan. I got the 3 back after the 9. And then you could see Greg was struggling, and crumbs, by the time we get to the 12th tee, we're now tied. I walk off the 12th, I'm 2 ahead. And I go down 13 thinking, thought, oh shit, it's mine to lose now. so honest. And for me, that was the best mental round I've ever had in my career, because obviously I wasn't as confident that particular, this is 96, even from 90 or 92, then it kind of, I was really on a roll. I had that 100% self-belief. But time 96 comes along, you've been dented a bit maybe, and I had to talk myself through the process which would happen like that. I had to go, okay, what are you trying to do? And I'd be going, don't let the wheels come off. Come on, keep going. And I said, right, what am I trying to do? I said, well, I want to hit it here. How am I going to do it? And I had to walk myself through every shot. So it was a pretty nerve-wracking, draining day, that one.
Yeah, I think all of us are interested in what superior athletes say to themselves on the field of play, whether it's what the catcher says to the pitcher or the quarterback in the huddle, and to hear that you have to talk yourself into it.
You go through your you have to learn how to deal with it. We all get negatives. You walk out on the first tee. Unfortunately, you lot sit in your car going, don't top it off the first. Don't top it off. If Bob's there, I always top it off the first. And guess what happens? Bob's there, and you top it off the first. So it's.
So how do you get out of that, though? How would you counsel someone to break that?
You think in pictures. We think in better pictures. You visualize. Listen to me rattle on TV. It's all about visualization.
Yeah, and don't play with Bob anymore.
I think
that's the important thing.
Screw Bob.
How about this? This is a screw Bob. This is a Nick Faldo quote. Rory McIlroy didn't win because he deserved to win after the Masters. He won because he regrouped and played like a major champion. Congratulations, Rory. Well done. What does it say about him that 2 months after such a crushing defeat that he was able to display that?
That was pretty amazing, wasn't it? I mean, it's bad enough what you do on that particular Sunday. The poor kid basically, I'd call it, either meltdown or shutdown. He literally went into, the mind just goes. If you asked him to probably spell his name, you probably couldn't do it. You literally can get yourself in such a state, you shut down, and he could see that happen to him. And I felt, because everything went so well that week at the Masters, nothing scared him, and all of a sudden it all happened. Now for him to then come back and obviously deal with the media, and then they talk about that, and we talked about it obviously, and then go to the US Open and just come straight out the bat, all of a sudden he's got a 6-shot lead, and suddenly, you walk off the green and the camera's straight, microphone straight in your face, well, last time you played a major, you blew it, beautiful, and the kid managed to deal with it. And that was the most incredible thing. I spoke to him yesterday, and I said, what was it? And it's funny how we get in the mode. He says, we play, but we just don't want to give anything away. We get to, even though he's leading by 10, he said, I was really miffed, annoyed that I bogeyed the 12th on Sunday. It's funny, and you get in that mode where you just don't want to give anything back, even though because anything can happen. So that just shows you this kid especially has got some major strength. I think he's got something that let's wait and see. Obviously, what happens, what he racks up in the next 5 years.
Yeah, we were talking. I mentioned that you were on Daily News Live earlier today. You were mentioning Seve as your greatest rival. And do you think that Rory and Tiger could develop any kind of that type of a rivalry if Tiger comes back somewhat to form?
A little bit. I mean, but it's dreadful how I was listening to Rory. He's on Piers Morgan. It may have been tonight, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And we got the 5-second snippet, and they said to him, can you beat Tiger? And because he goes, well, if I'm playing my best, then, and if Tiger's, and you could see him thinking of what the blimmin' headlines are going to be in the British papers the next day. And I could see it because I've obviously been, and you could see him go, well, if I'm playing my best, I can sometimes beat him.
He got it.
He had to throw in the sometimes, because he knew if he said, if I play good and he's playing good, I'll beat him. Because he can't say it now. Isn't it dreadful? And so...
but Tiger would say that. Tiger used to say that type of stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what we need. We need guys to be able to say it and it be written up how they say it. And you can see poor kid goes going... headlines. I can see the headlines. I used to do it every time. People ask me a question in the press tent, and I'll be thinking, okay, we're always loaded, and where's the headline going? And that's why it was difficult to speak freely.
The pits, the media.
Pardon?
They're the pits, the media, those people in the media. What was a bigger win, Tiger at Pebble or Rory at Congressional? do you think?
Well, it'd probably be, I guess in the big pictures, we know more now. Who knows? This might be the start of Rory winning 4 in a row. But at the present time, I should think the Tiger one was quite an amazing, dominating performance. I finished 5th. I managed...
I buried the lead.
No, the better line is I managed to get within 20. I think I finished 18 back at 5th.
And when you hear that, when you're on the course or after, and you see what the scores that are being put up, you just go, whoo. What can you do?
That was even more, because there was no way you could shoot that on that golf course. It was rock hard, impossible. Everybody's shooting par. We were walking off par. Was a great score. And here's a man 15 under or whatever he was at some stage or more. I mean, that was probably more phenomenal, I guess, yeah.
Everyone in this room has their favorite golf story. Not golf joke, golf story. What's your favorite golf story?
Like my favorite golf story?
Your favorite golf story that you can tell us. Or even that you can't tell us, maybe.
No, we can't tell you. I'll think of one. You can't throw me something. I'll think of one as we go.
Okay, how about... Right. All right. How about this? And we talked about this on the show earlier. When you were at Pebble, it's pouring rain, and John Daly is struggling with his stroke, and it's you came out. You were with the Golf Channel at the time.
Yeah.
And he was struggling mightily, and you really felt badly. It seemed like genuinely badly for.
No, I didn't. I was going out to talk to the Hollywood celebrities.
I see.
And then
I misconstrued that.
Somebody collars me from the Golf Channel and says, "Give Daly a lesson." I'm like, oh, gee, all right. You know.
How did it work? How did he take it?
He found all my thoughts and visions fascinating, but they didn't make it to the first tee.
There you go. There you go. How about this for everybody in the room? If someone was just starting to golf, or even not, they're golfers here. What are the most important things to get right in the golf swing? The basics.
The greatest thing about this game is whether you're a beginner or you're the best in the world, the fundamentals still stack up, don't they? You've got to have a decent grip. The biggest one for amateurs, club members, is alignment. That is the one that, you know, obviously we played the dreaded Pro-Am every week for 35 years. And it used to amuse me. Well, I helped it amuse me, because, you know, the guy would hit it straight right in the trees, and I'd say, good shot. Mm-hmm. You know, why not? You know, and then I'd rearrange my jaw, and I say, well, that was where you're aiming, you idiot. You know, exactly. So, how can I help you? And so that was number one, where amateurs haven't got a clue where they're aiming. That's really number one. And then the other one is swallow your pride, because you cannot hit a 7-iron 195, okay? And the funniest thing would be, you go and play a par 3, it'd be 195, and the guy would say, oh, I'll play a par 3 at my home course, and it's 195, and I always hit a 7-iron. I said, well, it's down the mountain, and this one's going that way.
Can't do it.
Great entertainment. Oh, no, here we go. Here we go, my story.
Oh,
True. I went to Flint Pro-Am, first hole, playing with 3-ball, 4-ball. Oh boy, seriously, he's over 80, takes a 10 up the first. And I think, damn it, I've got to be nice to him. I've got to give him a lesson. Try and be helpful. So we're in the middle of the second fairway. And I said, now what you've got to do is you've got to try and get your weight over onto your right side. I said, you've got, so I'm trying to show him this. He said, well, I'm having problems because I've had hip replacement in, and it's stiff, it's stuck. Now I can't get the weight over. I said, all right, don't worry about that. So I said, well, when you get to the top, then you've got to turn and you've got to pull with the left shoulder. He said, well, I've got one of those new titanium. Honest, true as I sit here, I've got a titanium rotator cuff fitted. Right here, I said, it's chilly, it's cold, and I can't get the thing to go. I said, all right, okay, don't worry about that. I said, well, try your best to just keep your eye on the ball, just watch the ball as you go through impact. He says, well, I've picked up the wrong glass, I've got the Weiss bifocals. He said, I can't focus. I said, apart from that, everything's okay. And he went, pardon? So,
when you walk out onto a course like this, when we walk out on the Merion...
Where are we?
Merion.
Okay.
We're at Merion. Have you played Merion?
I have, but unfortunately about 10 years ago, and so I can remember a couple of the little gems. I was just talking, the little second shot at 8. And obviously I posed Hogan, finished down 18. And that was it.
Yeah. when we walk out many times, we look at a course like this or a Ronamink, and it's breathtaking.
Yeah.
And do you do the same, or do you have a different look because it's all business for you?
Yeah, that's true. It has been, all the golf I played in my life was always like practicing. Even if I was playing with other people, friends or whatever, I was still in practicing. I'm still a competitive practitioner. But I've always looked at golf courses and thought, well, what would I do, as an architect, or a designer, really. And I had that spinning in my head for years before I then suddenly decided to, turn it into a business. So I've got a genuine passion for it and love it to get the opportunity to go and create. And obviously I've seen the best courses globally, seen the best architects, especially from the golden era. It's fascinating how the subtleties, obviously Ronamink and here, how they've stood the test of time, and then when we bring them back now, and we've got the best players in the world playing, how they all love it. They're all inspired to come back and play these great design architect golf courses. It's the courses for a while got they churn out the obvious green, bunker left, bunker right, switches the guys off, and I think that's what they really enjoy when they come to the great ones. You go, wow! You suddenly see all these subtleties, and the scare factor doesn't have to be. And I'm a big fan of the lack of distance strategy. We don't have to have every par 3 at 244. I believe that I know the shots that the pros hate. The 9-iron in your hand, and if you tweak it more than 3 feet left, it goes wandering off, and you cannot get up and down, and that sort. And that's the sort of thing that's I enjoy trying to create on a golf course.
You've got courses all over the world. One of them presently being constructed is in Rio. There was talk that it might be the Olympic course for the games in Rio. Can you tell us anything about that?
Yeah, my particular project. Now, the IGF have chosen a site, and they currently they haven't chosen any architects yet. I think they're going to invite we'll put us out to tender, and so obviously I would be honoured if I was, considered for that position. My particular course is least starting. We're under construction beginning of next year. We'll be finished in 2014. So just in case they haven't got anywhere to play, they can come and play my place. Yeah,
that'd be good. I don't think you have a shot. Nick Faldo? No, we're not going to his course for. Tiger, we really haven't talked about Tiger. Everyone wants to, they say, we don't want to talk anymore about Tiger, but the fact of the matter is everybody knows when Tiger's there and when he's not there. And we were talking on the program earlier today about whether or not he can regain that type of form that set him apart. Do you think he can?
Well, Tiger's career is not in his hands anymore. It's in this knee. That's, as I'm sure many of us know, playing this game even with a blister on your foot, let alone a tear, a muscle tear, or this sort of thing, is extremely difficult. He has to get this knee back 100% before he can even start practicing again. It's not something like they can say, okay, it's at 85%, you can start really easing into it. But I think that's what happened to him last time after the injury at the Masters. He goes to the Players, he's just light practice, and it just shows the difference of competitive golf. The different mental and physical strain you put on your body, that it blew out within a couple of shots. So I think he's recognized this, and so this knee is controlling his golfing career totally. He's got to get it 100% to be able to go out and practice again. And meanwhile, we've seen what's happened in the world of golf in the last 2 years, how the rest of the players have, we all know what's happened with Tiger off the golf because of all the troubles. And I think the biggest effect it's had is on the youngsters of today. In the past, when Tiger walked onto the range, I never forget, he walked onto the range at Augusta one year, it was like a freight train, the whole aura of it. And you could imagine when I was just starting my TV career then, and I thought, wow, you can imagine what it's like for the guy he's watching. He comes in with a seat, he's got security and everything, and sure enough, wallop, he's on the top of the leaderboard. So that's what they had to deal with. Now they know Tiger's got enough on his plate. He's got to deal with that. Whatever energy I wasted on him before, I don't need to. I can use it myself, and everybody's moved forward. instead of him competing against trying to beat Phil and one other, there's generally a dozen guys, and we've seen again from the last 2 years in all the majors, guys win majors who you'd never pick out of a hat, yet they are major champions now. And that's the era that we're in, where new guys are capable to win a major. So for him to fend off everybody has got way more difficult now. So I personally think 19 is a stretch. Even though Tiger was speaking so boldly, saying, well, yeah, I'm on the same track record, same time span as Jack, but kind of missed out what's happened in these last 2 years.
Before I let some of these wonderful folks ask you a couple of questions, do you have a favorite golf joke that you tell?
Favorite golf joke?
Favorite golf joke?
Yeah, the lady calls the police station. No, sorry, the guy calls this. Who calls the police station? The guy calls the police station and says, murdered, I think you better come round. He said, well, what's up? I've murdered the wife. Oh, okay. So guy arrives at the front door and the officer says, can I help you? He says, yes, I've murdered the wife. He said, okay, I'll make a note of that. Murdered the wife. And he says, can I come in? He says, just wanders in. He wanders in the lounge. There's golf balls and clubs lying. Oh, play a bit of golf, do he, sir? So you do. Plays golf. What's your handicap? He said, well, I'm a 14. He thought, oh, yeah, very nice. And where do you play? He said, well, I play at Ronamick. Oh, do we? We play at Ronamick. Oh, right, me. I play at the Muni down the road. He says, make a note of that. He says, so where's the body? He says, in the kitchen. Okay, we're going to the kitchen, make that. And he goes in there and she's lying dead on the floor. So he says, so what happened? Well, she was unfaithful to me. Well, all right, unfaithful. He says, so how did you kill her? He said, well, I hit her with my golf clubs. Oh, hit her with clubs. What do you hit her with? He said, well, I hit her with a 3-wood, 3-iron, 6-iron, 9-iron, a putter. So, 3-wood, 3-iron, 6-iron, 9-iron putter. He says, how many times you hit her? He said, oh, I don't know, 12, 13, 14. He said, I'll put you down for a 5.
Nick Faldo, everybody. Sir Nick Faldo.